Hi biologist, and welcome to your next Screencast. Today we'll start chapter 23 and talk about ecosystem ecology. Ecosystems include all the living and non-living components in a given area. This chapter's case study focuses on maple trees in the United States and how climate change has impacted them. In the United States, maple syrup production has decreased over the years. This is most likely due to a shortening of the maple syrup season in the northeastern United States. In Canada, however, maple syrup production has been increasing. This is probably due to a number of reasons, including government subsidies, improved technologies, and climate change. In a discussion about climate change, we should start with the difference between weather and climate. Weather refers to the day-to-day conditions of the atmosphere in terms of temperature, air pressure, wind, and moisture. Think of a weather report you might find online, in the news, or in the newspaper. Climate refers to the weather conditions prevailing in an area over a long period of time. When we say a long period of time, we're talking about years, if not decades or centuries. Climate change refers to any substantial change in climate that lasts for an extended period of time, decades or more. And global warming refers to the recent and continuing increase in the average global temperature. This infographic was created in 2018. It shows that the 5 years leading up to and including 2018 were the 5 hottest years on record in terms of average global temperature. The evidence for global warming is there. Global warming is happening. Climate change has such an effect on life on Earth because temperature signals a number of seasonal tasks in organisms, including mating and producing flowers. Rising temperatures interfere with and disrupt these natural rhythms. These graphs show the effect of global warming on plants in Massachusetts and Wisconsin. When average spring temperatures are higher, plants flower earlier. For every 1 degree Celsius increase in average spring temperature, plants in Massachusetts flower 3.2 days earlier. And plants in Wisconsin flower 4.1 days earlier. To better understand how climate change has affected and will affect life on Earth, we have to study the environment on the ecosystem level. Ecosystems include both the community of living organisms and features of the non-living environment. Ecosystems have both biotic and abiotic parts. Ecosystems are dynamic. That means that they're complex and ever-changing. Maple syrup is produced from the sap of maple trees. It takes about 40 gallons of sap to make 1 gallon of syrup. Maple trees produce sap during the springtime, and this process is almost entirely controlled by fluctuations in temperature. When nighttime temperatures are below freezing, and daytime temperatures are above freezing, maple trees will produce sap. The man in this photograph is producing maple syrup from evaporating water from maple tree sap. In this photograph, a maple tree on the left has been tapped, and you can see sap dripping from the tap into a collection bucket. Maple trees are adapted to cold weather, and we believe that climate change may alter the habitat and distribution of these trees. Remember that habitat is defined as the physical environment or location where an organism is found and to which it's adapted. The maps on this slide show how forests in the United States may change by the end of the century. Forests with maple trees, shown in red, are almost entirely absent by 2100. In this infographic, you can see a more detailed view of the maps that were on the last slide. Ecosystems that are similar to one another can be grouped into biomes. Biomes are large geographic areas defined by characteristic plant life. The characteristic plant life is determined by climatic factors like latitude, elevation, temperature, and precipitation. Let's go through some examples of biomes to give you a better idea of what they are. Underwater, you can have marine or saltwater biomes. You can also have aquatic or freshwater biomes. There are a variety of biomes on land as well. In places where average temperatures and precipitation are high, you'll find tropical forests. Temperate forests are found in the middle latitudes between the equator and the poles. These forests have distinct seasons: a winter, spring, summer, and fall. Temperate forests are dominated by deciduous trees. These are trees whose leaves change color and drop in the fall. Taiga is the name given to polar coniferous forests. Polar refers to their locations near the poles, and coniferous refers to the trees producing cones instead of flowers. Cone-bearing pine trees are better adapted to living in very cold weather. That's why you find pine trees in higher latitudes and higher elevations. Savannas are tropical grasslands found where average temperatures are high and precipitation is low to moderate. Prairies or steppes are temperate grasslands found in middle latitudes with low to moderate amounts of precipitation. The term prairie is more common for these ecosystems in North America. The term steppe is more common for these ecosystems in Asia or Europe. Tundra describes ecosystems near the poles with frozen soil called permafrost and the presence of grasses and shrubs. Deserts are places with very little precipitation. There are cold deserts like the Gobi Desert in Mongolia, temperate deserts like the Mojave Desert in California, and tropical deserts like the Sahara Desert in northern Africa. This infographic shows how the different biomes are distributed around the world. It also shows how each biome has a distinct average temperature and average amount of precipitation. The greenhouse effect is the trapping of heat in the Earth's atmosphere. The greenhouse effect maintains the temperatures that sustain life on Earth. Too much of the greenhouse effect, however, can cause global warming and climate change. Let's make sure we understand the steps of the greenhouse effect. First, sunlight makes its way through the Earth's atmosphere and warms the Earth's surface. The Earth's surface then radiates heat or infrared radiation back into the atmosphere. The heat is then absorbed by greenhouse gases like carbon dioxide. The trapped heat in the atmosphere raises the temperature of the atmosphere and the Earth's surface. This infographic outlines the steps of the greenhouse effect. Make sure you understand that in the greenhouse effect, greenhouse gases absorb heat from the Earth's surface, not light from the sun. Due to human activity, there's been an increase in greenhouse gases in the atmosphere. In addition to carbon dioxide, methane, CFCs or chlorofluorocarbons, ozone, and nitrous oxide are considered greenhouse gases. This increase has enhanced or increased the greenhouse effect. This has also led to the global warming we've seen in recent years. The graphs on this slide show how increased atmospheric carbon dioxide concentrations correspond with increased average temperatures in the northern hemisphere. This diagram shows the different greenhouse gases and the contributions that each makes to the greenhouse effect. No matter where you look, climate change has had dramatic impacts on entire ecosystems. One example is the ranges of birds and other organisms. Their ranges have shifted as the result of climate change. Warm weather species have expanded their ranges, and many of their ranges have shifted north. Cold weather species have seen their habitats reduced. The map on this slide shows how the range of the wild turkey is expected to expand well into Alaska by 2080. This infographic shows how the ranges of some birds in North America have shifted between 1966 and 2005. It also shows one of the side effects of this. When the birds moved away, they left behind insects. These insects were left on their own to eat and kill trees. The dead trees make the forest that they're found in more susceptible to fire. As the result of global warming and climate change, we've seen the Arctic warm at twice the rate as the rest of the planet. We call this phenomenon Arctic amplification.